Leonardo Wilhelm DiCaprio is an American actor and film producer. Known for his work in biographical and period films, he is the recipient of numerous accolades, including an Academy Award, a British Academy Film Award, and 3 Golden Globe Awards. Born the 11th of November 1970, for age 49 years, Los Angeles, California, United States. I've been planted here to be a vessel for acting. That's why I'm really taking any part, regardless of how complicated it's going to be. I'm probably not going to get married unless I live with somebody for 10 or 20 years, but these people, Romeo and Juliet, took a chance, and they did it. We don't have the balls that Romeo did. Doing what we do filming, you have to be your own critic and judge and adjudicate as to what you do and how it turned out. I'm nothing like Romeo in real life. I have to say, as an actor, I have been inspired by so many British actors throughout the years. Marty Scorsese knows that when an improvised moment comes out of a real situation, it's gonna have more life and more going on than anything you can imagine. And that's how the character can become the story. I sometimes have to look back and say, wow, this is amazing what has happened to me. I have been able to fulfill a lot of these dreams that I had when I was very young. It's a pretty amazing feeling, but at the same time it becomes addictive. I have the same problem as Edward Furlong. I'm so thin. When I was doing This Boy's Life, I wanted to be as old as Robert De Niro and as experienced as him and have the same respect as he did in that movie. It's my first sort of commercial attempt, but it made sense for me because I'm not that kind of guy, and I'm not going to continue to do that kind of movie. I never thought I could travel unless I had a wife or someone to share it with. You don't necessarily need that, but I am the type of person that wants to share a lot. For the economy itself will die if our ecosystems collapse. My dad's probably one of the kindest people in the world. When I was younger, that's not how I was. I was a little spoiled brat. I've never known a situation in my career where a terrible script turned into a movie that was out of this world or was a success. It does feel like the middle ground has fallen out. I'm only saying that from personal experience, saying I'd like to make that movie and hearing, oh, they're not making those types of movies anymore. It gets to the point where you're hot, and when you're not, you're not. It's so true. I have to slow down soon. Sometimes you've got to go to the wrong place just to show that you're not afraid to go there. Raising awareness on the most pressing environmental issues of our time is more important than ever. I'll just be the first to say that Ken Watanabe should be a national treasure in Japan because he is an unbelievably talented actor. You couldn't find more of a gentleman. He's sweet. He's kind, and he's extremely thoughtful in the work that he does. I have never been a fashionista or someone who puts a lot of thought into what I wear, and I dress to be as comfortable as I possibly can. Fame is not the worst thing. I went to dinner the other night, and the girls in the restaurant ignored me. It was so annoying. I've gotten to play some pretty intense characters, and I tend to think it's therapeutic for me. I am completely open to doing a romantic comedy, but I will never do something just for the sake of doing a specific genre or because it's the time or place to do a different type of movie. I think that would be a huge mistake. What I would do in order to be popular was I'd put myself online and joke around and be funny, and I was always known as the crazy kid. My parents know I was outgoing as a child, and whenever people came over, I'd automatically do impressions of them as soon as they left. It was my mom's favorite thing. I touched emotions I've never tapped in my entire life. I've heard people say, "I hope this movie doesn't glamorize drugs." My father, George, has also affected the choices in my life regarding films. I like films that take chances or say something different or experiment. Growing up with them, I was surrounded by different artists, not just actors or filmmakers, but cartoonists, poets, writers. As far as my own dreams, I am not a big dreamer. I think obviously we suppress things in life, emotions and thoughts, and we should wake up and look at that. Sam Mendes said he took advantage of the fact that Kate and I were so close for many years. He knew it was something he could harness in our performances, and we knew that too. I've never tried to reach a certain demographic of an audience, or try to say, okay, now I'm going to do this type of film that transition myself into more adult roles, or a romantic hero, or whatever it may be. It's easy to be an expert if you're the only one in the world with an interest. There's so many intangible forces that come into play. When making a film, I have no idea what the public will ultimately think of something that I do, let alone critics. We must all move shoulder to shoulder in a unified front to show this administration that the true majority of people are willing to vote for a cleaner environment and won't back down. If you're gonna let the character be the story, you better set a tone that allows the actors to do the best work they can do. When I can't immediately define the character, and there's an element of mystery to it, and still a lot to be explored, that's when I say yes. I'm a big history buff, so to walk the streets, the ancient world like that was pretty astounding. To play a repressed gay man, I had to explore what life was like in an era of sexual repression. I believe humankind has looked at climate change in that same way, as if it were a fiction happening to someone else's planet, as if pretending that climate change wasn't real would somehow make it go away. This created world really helped me as an actor. It heightened everything, which made it more dangerous, more interesting, and more liberating. I like to be able to play a character and act out a lot of things which I can't or don't do in my normal everyday life. Kate Winslet also happens to be one of my close friends, who I goof off with like crazy. It was a reunion of two people who, I guess, are a little bit older, a tiny bit wiser, but ultimately were the same as they were when they were 21. I didn't know what types of movies I wanted to do. I want to do things that are different. I want to take my time with each role. One of my passions is to meet people and then imitate them. I love doing that. The best thing about acting is that I get to lose myself in another character and actually get paid for it. It's a great outlet. I'm not really sure who I am. It seems I change every day. When I grew up, I lived in the ghettos of Hollywood. It was the most disgusting place to be. I was known as the crazy little kid. I did impressions. Then I realized that's not what I want to do. I don't want to be a comedian to please other people. Meryl Streep does things I would never have thought possible. Her presence on screen is outstanding. I've just got to maintain my passion for what I do. Honored delegates, leaders of the world I pretend for a living. At first I thought I would have to put on an English accent and try a sort of affected Shakespeare thing. Dreams feel real while we're in them. It's only when we wake up that we realize something was actually strange. I like to prepare as much as possible beforehand, but there's definitely that element of fear when you're on set, and you have to be conscious of it and use that fear to drive you to work harder. I have never been a fashionista or someone who puts a lot of thought into what I wear, and I dress to be as comfortable as I possibly can. When you grow up in the film industry, the director is your father. You follow your father's lead, but you make your own way. Then I saw Keanu Reeves in Much Ado About Nothing, and I know if he can do it, I can do it too. The first kiss I had was the most disgusting thing in my life. The girl injected about a pound of saliva into my mouth, and when I walked away, I had to spit it all out. People always ask, was it fun? Was it fun working on a movie? I don't know if that's the operative word. It is challenging and interesting and all those other things, but fun isn't always. If you can do what you do best and be happy, you're further along in life than most people. I know a lot of the intense moments in Titanic were made that much easier and were pushed to even further limits because of that relationship. Love is a sudden revelation. A kiss is always a discovery. You have to enjoy life in the process. It may sound corny, but it's true at the end of the day. We can't always achieve everything that we dream of, but you do have to enjoy life in the process. I couldn't deal with playing a character who rides motorcycles and has a leather jacket and is a tough kid, you know. I'm still exploring in a lot of ways. I don't know myself completely. As a little kid growing up in Hollywood, I was called a little crazy, and now I guess I'm still that way. You never know as a director what other directors do, because you don't get to see what they do. Brothers don't necessarily have to say anything to each other. They can sit in a room and be together and just be completely comfortable with each other. He had done Romper Stomper, and I had done Gilbert Grape, and so we were hand plucked to do this big budget film, so we were both very bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. The more I've acted, I've realized that I have no control of and be no way of really quite understanding how people react to anything I do or any movie I do. I think sexiness in most people, and this is going to sound superficial, is definitely something you don't plan. I always wanted to be an actor, and I'd never dreamt that not only would I be able to do this for a living, but also on top of that I'd be able to choose and steer the course of my own career. Subconscious is motivated by emotion, right? Not reason. I prefer ordinary girls, college students, waitresses, that sort of thing. Most of the girls I go out with are just good friends. Just because I go out to the cinema with a girl, it doesn't mean we are dating. I watch a lot of Turner Classic movies, but I don't do private screenings. I don't have the old school, reel-to-reel projectors. I do have a big screen TV, though. The truth of the matter is this: I never look for films specifically, because ultimately, if the fundamentals of the character and the script and the director aren't there, it makes it a moot point. If we do not act together, we will surely perish. Climate change is severely impacting the health of our planet and all of its inhabitants, and we must transition to a clean energy economy that does not rely on fossil fuels. The things that you did with parents, whether it was spending every Sunday morning with your dad and eating French toast and watching Popeye, or decorating the Christmas tree with our mother, these are memories that help you be happy. And now it's your turn. The time to answer the greatest challenge of our existence on this planet is now. From an outsider's perspective, it's amazing what Clint Eastwood does not. If he's not directing a film, he's acting in it. Or rather, he's composing the music for that film. His commitment to what he does is astounding for all of us to witness. It's inspiring, actually. It's very hard to impose your beliefs or a specific message about any given movie. I think that audiences always extract what they want from a film, even if something isn't overtly political. They may or may not get it, and it's hard to control that. I suppose playing an older man is a way of preparing myself for getting older. I created my foundation as a result of that and my website, and I try to shed some light on some very topical issues right now. I'm not really the quiet type, although some people think I am. But I'm the rebel type in the sense that I don't think I'm like everyone else. I try to be an individual. When I was young, I used to have this thing where I wanted to see everything. I used to think, how can I die without seeing every inch of this world? My friends, this body, perhaps more than any other gathering in human history, now faces that difficult task. The last thing I want to turn into is a fat Hollywood jerk. I was brought up without much money, and I was happy. I don't think that I will strive for money or success and end up greedy or big-headed. That only leads to unhappiness. I can still be down to earth and do this job as long as I enjoy it. We are facing a tipping point of environmental crisis, unprecedented in human history, and our very survival is dependent on protecting nature. I hate complaining about paparazzi. I hate complaining about being recognized, because if I ultimately didn't want to be an actor or in the public eye, I would quit doing what I do. That's not the reason I do it, but I love the work so much that it's worth it. I've always kind of made sure to maintain the sense of who I am, and never be mean or cruel or snotty to anyone, because at the end of the day, it's not going to help you last in the business. And who wants to be around someone like that? I don't want to turn into that guy. Obviously, people don't want other people to tell them how to think, or what to believe, or to tell them what's right politically and what's wrong. I remember the checkered demon. He's this little devil with this 3-foot tongue that just porks everybody. And that was my idea of what sex was about, and I was, oh wow, I can't wait. People want you to be a crazy, out of control teen brat. They want you miserable, just like them. They don't want heroes. What they want is to see you fall. You can either be a vain movie star, or you can try to shed some light on different aspects of the human condition. School, I never truly got the knack of. I could never focus on things I didn't want to learn. If a film is good, and I'm sort of able to sit there and absorb myself within that world and get lost, that is a pretty powerful tool, and there's not many paintings out there that make me want to stare at it for hours at a time and wonder where I am. I don't think my parents would be shocked about anything I did, because they're so laid back. As we progress into the 21st century, anyone who considers themselves a realist will have to make the environment a top priority. Mozambique is having an economic resurgence, but still 4 out of 10 people there have HIV or AIDS. There's astounding conditions, but what I was left with was the power of the human spirit there, and the fact these people have been through so much and they were still dancing in the streets. I don't think there's a specific science. You can put on dream psychology. I think that it's up to obviously, the individual. It's interesting in this day and age to do a film about political espionage and wiretapping. I don't think that those types of secrets that J. Edgar Hoover was able to obtain and keep for such a long period of time would be possible in today's world with the internet and WikiLeaks. I will fly around the world doing good for the environment. To believe in love, to be ready to give up anything for it, to be willing to risk your life for it, is the ultimate tragedy. Success always starts with the material. It always starts with the truth and honesty of the characters that you read in the screenplay, and that's rarely something that can be remedied. If it's simply not there by the time you shoot the film, thank God we had that. Mother Earth is hurting, and she needs a generation of thoughtful, caring and active kids like all of you to protect her for the future. Now is the time to divest and invest, to let our world leaders know that we, as individuals and institutions, are taking action to address climate change, and we expect them to do their part this December in Paris at the UN climate talks. Portraying emotionally old characters gives me the chance to really act. A single idea from the human mind can build cities. An idea can transform the world and rewrite all the rules. I get a friend to travel with me. I need somebody to bring me back to who I am. It's hard to be alone. I like movies. No, I like theater too. And paintings are great. And all that. But to me, the great sort of artistic medium I think of our time is film. I really feel that, to me. There's nothing else out there where I can sort of suspend disbelief for 2 hours. We only get one planet. Our planet's alarm is going off, and it is time to wake up and take action. It was closer to manual labor than shooting a film. I always think of something Michael Caton-Jones told me. Pain is temporary, film is forever. I am not a scientist, but I don't need to be. I'm just starting to scratch the surface of what really makes me happy, and it's taken me a while to admit that acting like a little child and being a jerk and a punk is fun. You see, I think negative emotions are always trumped by positive emotions. Most of the time I just keep to myself. I think like what it would be like to be someone else. A man's legacy is determined by how the story ends. I've always been spontaneous and outgoing. I've tried lots of things, so I've got some good life experiences, which is great cause it means I've got lots of material to work with as an actor. Playing Arnie was fun because everything I did was spontaneous. Hoover was incredibly ambitious as a young man. He was highly motivated to succeed in Washington, primarily due to his mother's expectations of him. What I really wanted was to travel and see all the different animals that were on the verge of extinction. The truth is that I've always been fascinated with wealth, and America. To me, it's been about the American dream and the corruption of that dream. I realize that I do not change the course of history. I am an actor. I do a movie. That's the end of it. You have to realize we are just clowns for hire. After I had success, it was great at first. Not to worry about money. It was on my mind when I was growing up. We actually did a lot of takes on this movie, J. Edgar Hoover. I never left the set wanting more, that's for sure. I don't know. This was a very difficult character for me and a lot of the other actors here, and at times we went and did 8 or 9 or 10 takes on a single day. My mom, Ermeline, taught me the value of life. Her own life was saved by my grandmother during World War II. I've never been Romeo who meets a girl and falls for her immediately. It's been a much slower process for me each time I've gone into a relationship. I have learned from my experiences in this industry that there is absolutely no way to control people's opinions on your performance in your movie. You go out there, promote your film, and hope people like the work you did. I don't have emotions about a lot of things. I rarely get angry. I rarely cry. I guess I do get excited a lot, but I don't get sad and enormously happy. I think a lot of people who talk about all that crap are lying. Right now I'm just trying to maintain happiness. That's all I really care about. You never know as a director what other directors do, because you don't get to see what they do. My first date was with a girl named Ceci. We'd had a beautiful relationship over the phone all summer long. Then she came home and we met to go out for the first time to the movies. When I saw her, I was petrified. I couldn't even look her in the eye to talk to her. The good thing about acting is that it always keeps you on your toes. It's not like any other job where you can go in and do the same thing as yesterday. I've managed to keep a clear head and remain sane in this business because I remain a kid off camera. I've changed. You can't help it. Your mind starts working in a different way. You feel really scrutinized by people. I want to be the perfect child. I owe so much to my parents and the way I was brought up. Sometimes I wonder, will God ever forgive us for what we've done to each other? Then I look around and I realize God left this place a long time ago. When you're my age and your hormones are kicking in, there's not much besides sex that's on your mind. We actually did a lot of takes on this movie, J. Edgar Hoover. I never left the set wanting more. That's for sure. I don't know. This was a very difficult character for me and a lot of the other actors here, and at times we went and did 8 or 9 or 10 takes on a single day. I am friends with Demi. Don't believe anything you read. Thousands of climate scientists agree that global warming is not only the most threatening environmental problem, but also one of the greatest challenges facing all of humanity. We must demand a separation between oil and state. We can get off oil and slow global warming. The role of Rimbaud is one of the most important roles to play for a young actor. Dark green is my favorite color. It's the color of nature and the color of money and the color of moss. I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully people will watch my movies. My career should adapt to me. Fame is like a VIP pass wherever you want to go. I like doing things that scare me. I went bungee jumping, but skydiving is just the sickest thing. That's an inspiration for all women to see a woman thinking and moving differently from those around her. Love at first sight, I absolutely believe in it. You've got to keep the faith. Who doesn't like the idea that you could see someone tomorrow and she could be the love of your life? It's very romantic. It's a hard concept for me to wrap my head around, to completely sacrifice any sort of love in your life, to never experience that on a personal level. I really don't know what I'm doing. I don't. It's terrible. I go in there and I learn how to be like the character and do the best I can. And that's all I really do. I feel a moral obligation to speak out at this key moment. In human history, it is a moment for action. I've got this reputation for shooting one take, which is a wonderful reputation to have, but it's hard to live up to. Some people don't get it when I'm being sarcastic. The challenge for me was not just the prosthetic work and how to move like an older man would move, but more so how to have 50 years of experience in the workplace and talk to a young Robert F. Kennedy as if he was some political upstart that didn't know what the hell he was talking about. At first glance, you read something on the page and it can seem one way, and you can have your decisions before you wind up on set about what that set is supposed to mean. But until you're actually there doing them, there's really no way to understand it. Don't think for a moment that I'm really like any of the characters I have played. I'm not. That's why it's called acting. My mother is a walking miracle. It's a weird feeling when people are defining you, and you haven't even defined yourself. The idea is to try to get people to become obviously more knowledgeable about the issue and try to get corporations and individuals to contribute to these nonprofit organizations. Only you and you alone can change your situation. Don't blame it on anything or anyone. I'm shy, but when the time comes to be wild, I'm fun-loving, adventurous, and mysterious. Being dubbed as a hunk sort of annoys me. It gives me a yucky feeling. Thanks for watching our video. Please support us for reach 2,000 subscribers and to share, subscribe, and like.